Welcome to the Digital Couch, a podcast about the ever changing world of digital. The Digital Couch is brought to you by Value First. The podcast features leading global thinkers and their stories from the world of business, management, and marketing. Now, here's your host, Shauri Gupta.
Hello everyone. Today we have with us Mayank Singh. Mayank is head of marketing, technology, and business transformation at Domino's Pizza Indonesia. Previously, he held roles at Smink, Z Entertainment, NDTV, and Times Group. Mayank, why don't you say hi to our listeners?
Thanks, Shaurya, for inviting me at Digital Couch podcast by Value First. I'm delighted as well as excited to be part of this Digital Couch. And yeah, hi, hello, and namaste to all the listeners.
Thanks, Mayank. All right then, let's get into it. So you've yourself had quite a journey. I mean, from being a software engineer to moving on to becoming a product manager to a business head and now a marketing head. So you've really seen all the rides of a roller coaster park. Tell us a bit more about it, like, and how your decisions. How do you take these decisions over the years, at least professionally?
Okay, so I'll tell you something different. So actually, I would say that I am not as from a change from a software engineer to the other role.
Hmm.
Actually, I was a hacker in my college days, and the really bad one.
Oh, I was going to ask you if you were the ethical one, but all right.
and and the beauty is that I'm still a hacker. So earlier I used to hack into internet for fun, show off, explore others' privacy, etc., etc. And that was the fun part. Being I was too childish that time.
Ah,
But now I hack for the businesses.
right.
So whatever I do, I'm best in hacking the way forward. So I love exploring. I'm good with the observations,
Hmm.
and which is what makes me the skill to explore new stuff, and then how can I channelize them into the use case for a business needs. So that has been the core. So from my entire journey, the one thing which has not changed, that was my hacking ability. From an internet it came into the business hacking.
Nice.
So that's what I've been doing. Other than that, if I have to tell you, so my journey has been very incredible. I'll give you my hacking examples in it. So
Hmm.
after I was a software engineer, one part of the thing which I have not mentioned in my resumes or my LinkedIn profile is that I started a small company in Jaipur
All right.
with one of my friends.
Hmm.
Now, and I was a software engineer, so I kind of was managing projects. So now the thing was how to grow your company, and that was my first hack. I did two hacks actually. The first hack is that I went to all the colleges in the Jaipur area and asked them for and met the placement cell and asked them that I would want to offer internship to the students, which is I will get enough resources which
Hmm.
I need to train them at free cost
Oh,
to
good.
get the projects done. The second is that I had a lot of my engineering friends who went to US, UK for the jobs outside India.
Hmm.
So I started contacting them and reaching out to their companies and trying to get projects from them, which they can outsource to India because that back then the outsourcing was on boom. So, so that's how I from software engineer went into this. That later decided to take a break and went for my MBA.
Nice.
From MBA came to join as a project lead in a software development firm. From there, used to work with a lot of multiple companies. So basically, I started with US market, and for some reason, there was one Times Group's project which was given to me
Hmm.
by the MD of the company, and the project was in very bad shape, wherein the client was not happy, and I was sent as a makeshift resource. That project happened to be doing really well, and that's where my company MD realized that I am very good with managing the Lala companies of India. Then other than managing the US companies. So immediately, my most of the projects were immediately assigned to the Lala companies and to the all the big media companies, which was Times was one of them, NDTV was there. I happened to work with PVR. PVR, I remember that it was again a hack project that we got from them. We started with a pitch of building a Facebook mobile application, because the not Facebook mobile application, it was Facebook application, because back then the Facebook application was a new thing in 2008.
Right.
And we pitched them that we will build you this application. We made it, and we submitted the application for the Facebook app developer program which they were running as an award. The application got the second prize from Facebook, which was amounting 1 lakh rupiah.
Nice.
And that time then because of that success, we eventually got the whole PVR Cinemas e-commerce project. But that was again in a condition that they asked us to develop the whole revamp the whole site in 14 days, because that time this movie ticket booking, this movie industry was going through a strike. And Love Ajkal, I remember the movie that was coming really soon. So the idea was to, before that movie comes, our e-commerce site should be ready. So 14 days we made an e-commerce site live with option to use your Visa card for buy one get one ticket.
Wow, nice.
So yeah, so those has been the incredible part, and that's what I've been. So I would say the hacking is the another one thing, that the speed is the another thing which I'm always known for.
Right.
The speed at which I work, which is one of the example which I told you, is that how we developed the PVR Cinemas in 14 days.
Yeah. And how did the shift happen, like in terms of marketing as a function? I mean, even though right now you're doing more than marketing for Domino's, you're also looking at technology and business transformation. But marketing still been a large part of your day-to-day activity. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. So how did that shift happen from just business to started liking the idea of marketing and storytelling?
See, one is, so marketing. My MBA was specifically into entrepreneurship and leadership, with a core stream which I took was marketing.
Right.
That was one of the attribute which you can associate to it. The other is that when I was working with most of my clients, and then when I made my shift, so I remember when I shifted from the Tekriti software back then, and I joined Times. So Times, I was working as a product manager. So product manager is a combination of a business guy and a tech guy. And we happened to launch TechGig. Before that, I was actually working on PeerPar, which was the Indian version of LinkedIn. And then we came up with the idea of why not to launch TechGig, which is because most of the people in India are IT, from the IT industry. So TechGig would be a kind of a platform which will be more towards the IT guys, and will serve as a purpose of building the professional networking. Then when we were making that product as a product, then I used to tell and discuss about the idea how we will promote. And I remember my boss, he told me, what are you doing here? You should be doing the marketing. The kind of ideas you are floating to promote the app is a job of a marketing guy. So that's so marketing was always like dear to me in terms of being creative. But then it was all learning which happened over a period of time. So from Times, I went to NDTV, was a product manager there for all their multiple products, including the cricket app, to NDTV, multiple sites like Movie, Khabar, Profit.
Right.
And then e-commerce was always dear to me from from the things which I saw when I was doing PVR Cinemas, and the Domino's opportunity came. So Domino's, I learned a lot. So I learned from, I believe in this system of learning, and learning not from, it's a 360-degree mantra, I would say. So my belief is that when you start your learning process, the first learning is the self-learning. The second learning you do is the learning from your superior. The third learning is the learning from your peers. and the fourth learning you do is the learning from the people who are below you, because as you grow in age, your learning capability reduces, and they are the new ones who learns faster than you.
Sure.
So it's better to start learning from them.
Yeah.
And the last point in the learning phase is that you say it's spiritual learning, because you have learned from everything. Then you are more gutsy in terms of taking decisions. So you get to know, to achieve that position, that you can say it's a spiritual learning. So I've not reached that level, but yeah, I'm still still learning from all around me. I learn a lot from the people who report to me. And that has been the case when I was doing multiple change. So there was team which was being allocated. There were marketing people who were working with me as a cross-functional, and I was always learning from them. And basis those successes, I it kept changing into the way I work. And the other part was my association with. I would say I always wanted to be different from the herd. Like when I was an engineer, passed out, everyone wanted to be part of a company like Infosys, TCS, to as an engineer working there.
Of course.
I never planned for that. I said I don't want to be part of that herd. I would want to have to go to an area where there are less engineers. Let me prove my worth there, and then I will climb up.
Nice. That's pretty cool. In fact, I read something, I'm not sure if this is related, but there's a concept that you really follow called the M5 investor. And from the looks of it, it seemed very interesting. If you want to talk more about it.
Yeah. So this M5 investor, it's actually a term coined by me. And if I have to define it, it actually defines me in two ways. So, so when you talk about investment, the first thing that comes to your mind is money. But this M is not the one which I'm talking about, because this is not the only M that you require for the advancement towards your business goals. So the investment in a form of mentoring, motivating, mediating, measuring, mastery, and management. That's what this 5M I really mean, that it's required for any business to grow other than the money. And that's where, if someone is looking for that kind of investment, I'm always ready. So that's why I say that I am the M5 investor. The other is it's a marketing term from the other perspective, because if you see M5, you can write it as MS, and that is Mayank Singh.
Oh, you're a true marketer then.
Yeah.
All right, lovely. I also want to ask you a couple of questions on your business part of the journey. I mean, you played a pivotal role, especially during your earlier time at Domino's with online ordering. And it was a concept that was one of the first in India. I mean, I have great childhood memories from ordering on Domino's, in fact. And I'd love to know the story. How did the idea come by? Sort of challenges you faced, and how did you put up a team together to create something so innovative like that, at least in those days?
Yeah. So one thing I would want to clarify is that the idea was not mine.
All right.
And it was neither the Domino's India. The idea was actually, it was something which was learned from the US market. So Domino's online was there in the US market, and there was great learning from there. And the learning was because the businesses were happening where the customers were. From, if you remember, from marketplaces to malls to calls, and then came the internet next. Even today, if you talk, so the chatbot, voice bots, kiosks, aggregator business, they are the new avenues where business are expanding to increase their market size. So my journey there actually started as a single resource when I was hired. So I was the one person lone warrior, I would say lone ranger, given the task to build the e-commerce for Domino's. And that time we were working with the agency who was there for development, and there was agency for marketing. But as a person responsible for the online ordering, it was me. And initially it was a lot of throwbacks from the people in terms of acceptance, because when you do something new, there are people who will always come to and talk about the mistake. So one is that I was lucky that I was part of Domino's because they were ready to invest into it. They believed in it. So I remember when I was new, then there was few people they were talking about why do we need to do online ordering? It creates more problem than increasing our sale.
Right.
So so, why are we even talking about it? And that time I remember my CEO quoted that it's the initial hiccups. It is long way to go that we need to build this, and it will be a revenue generator for us. So yeah, so that's how it started. But the from if you have to talk about myself, other than the role of the whole company that was doing, so it was very challenging for me. When you come as a single resource, a lot of high expectations are there from you.
Yeah.
Uh, and challenges are the ones which I love most. So for my first job was that how to build this up and how to create a team. So initially the organization they said that rather than hiring specific people, what we want to do is that let's create a team which can be called as the online ordering team, but the team would be from different, because the online ordering is not just the technological part. It's also about, because there is a dependency on operation, there's a dependency of how the customer service will work,
Yeah.
how the finance would play its role. So you need people from every department. So what I was given was the representatives from every department. None of them used to report to me. They have their functional reporting to their own leaders, and yet I have to get my work done from them. So that was the biggest challenge.
Interesting.
And now when I started working on it, I realized that it's more tougher to make them align, because for them it was not the main business. The main business was still the Domino's selling offline.
All right.
So I remember within the 6 month of time, I had a heated discussion with that marketing offline team, talking about sometimes the site is failing, it crashes, we cannot do big promotions and all that.
Right.
So uh, and there was a huge cry over it, and the whole management came into a call, including my CEO, CTO, CIO, CMO, everyone. That time I told them that look, I give me a period of time of 30 days.
Right.
Let me work on it, and I'll assure you that this site will do 100 million in a day with all the campaigns we want to do.
Right.
And exactly I took 30 days, and after 30 days I went back and I said that let's do 100 million sale. Let's create that kind of promotion now to bring the traffic on. And I remember that that time we tried to generate the traffic, and that 100 million was not achieved, but the site didn't fall. Now then my sarcastic comment was, yeah, बस इतना ही कर सकते थे तुम लोग. Yeah, but then that was a market situation also, because the market was slow that time. But the next month again we tried, we achieved 100 million, we crossed it.
Wow.
Then the second month again we tried, we achieved more than that, and then again the next month we achieved more than that. So this is 100 million rupiah I am talking about, which is 1 crore. Now there I saw an opportunity. First is that if you have done something and you have achieved it, them not to forget to claim it, because if you are not claiming it, everyone is going to forget it. So what I did was I ordered a 6 kg cake and wrote 1 crore, 1 crore, 1 crore 3 times on it, and send it into the Mancom meeting which was happening with all the head of the departments in there.
Nice.
And then I was called, what is this for? As I told them, this is the reason. I promised, we delivered, and that's the cake for the celebration. And then that cake was distributed in the whole office with the tag on that the Olo achieved this number. Now, what did it do? It helped me create my cross-functional team more aligned to me. So when I did that, immediately everyone started to claim being part of that success, that I was also associated. You would not believe, a legal person said that when you wrote that mail that you were thanking every department for their role in this, you didn't thank legal. I was there for your legal agreements.
FOMO.
Yeah. So then and that's I took it as a positive sign, and I created a name for our team, which was digital commerce team, because I said that I will not restrict myself to only being into the online ordering.
Hmm.
We'll move on towards the mobile application. So we were the first one to launch the mobile application. Then I said that we will move into the kiosk business, and later we even went into the voice ordering trials
Right.
with Nuance. So named it as digital commerce team. Printed T-shirt, gave to everyone that you are the part of the team I belong to, and they were all proud to be my team member. Rather, and they were reporting to their own functional boss. But the things changed. Now they wanted to be part of the success, and they wanted to support me.
Yeah.
So that's how it changes the journey in terms of my biggest challenge. It later I was able to align everyone on my side, and then then the task became more easier, and I was given more people to recruit on the technological front. I started aligning to all the marketing team with the several function in it.
Hmm.
Later the reporting was into the technology team, so they changed my reporting and made me, because I was looking from the business perspective, they moved me into the marketing side. And so that's how my journey went into the Domino's, from challenges to the fun.
That's very interesting. Would you also want to talk a bit about the industry as a whole? I mean, given the fact that not just Domino's, you've been involved with food tech as an industry before as well,
Mhm.
and how food and tech as a combination has become an industry of itself now, which we obviously call food tech. And how has it evolved over the years, and where are we today, and what are the kind of things that we can think of looking at in the coming days?
Mm. Yep. So it's I would say just it's not just food and technology,
Hmm.
or a food tech, because the technology in today's world plays an important role in every business.
Yeah.
You're talking about food tech, then there are ed tech and whatnot. Even if you see, it's not just with the business, it's also with respect to the departments. Like a marketing team or an HR team has their own technological needs today. The technological teams are also looking for technological solution to recruit, to predict whether he will fit into the culture or not, basis the data inputs that they capture, and there are solutions available for that. That's HR tech.
Right.
So so the technology is playing a role which every business and departments are adopting.
Hmm.
But I would want to go back specifically for the Domino's Pizza, and would like to quote our Domino's ex-CEO, Mr. Patrick Doyle, the CEO from the Domino's International.
Hmm. Hmm.
He once said that Domino's Pizza is not a pizza company; it is a technology company which is selling pizzas. So that has been the involvement of technology for Domino's kind of business. They believe that the technology is what driving their business, and they are focusing more on technology, and which is helping them sell more pizzas. So if you talk about the kind of advancement which has happened in technology front that has been utilized, is it start with the online ordering. Then you talk about GPS driver tracking, which is IOTA.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about forecasting of supplies at the store, that how much would you need based on the season, based on your past historical orders. That's also technology. Even deciding a new store location before you sign up the agreement, to forecast how much it is going to add up as a revenue, and in what year it will be profitable, and whether it is the right deal or not, is with basis the various data parameters which are available, is also a technology which today we all experience and we use it.
Right. Yeah.
Having said that, I would say that one thing which has not happened, and which I wanted to be a part of my journey with Gorb. I have not spoken about Gorb in this. So the Gorb, Gorb was a food tech which we started with Z Entertainment. It was funded by Z, and that's where I wanted to differentiate that technology, and that's the area which I think today also no one has done so far. So when you talk, so Gorb was I quote that Gorb was a food aggregator, a true food aggregator, because if you talk about aggregators like Zomato, Swiggy, and all, they are not food aggregators, they are restaurant aggregators. Why restaurant aggregator? Because you go and choose your restaurant and then you end up choosing food. That's how the journey is.
Correct.
So it's how, so you're aggregating restaurants. But when I say food aggregator, it has to be like you are buying food on Amazon. You see the food, select the food, and then you see who is the supplier and make a choice. So your journey is starting with food, and then you end up seeing the supplier. So that is the food aggregator journey. Given that no one is doing that, but it has more to do when it comes to the more data driven analytics that can be used. So the vision for Gov was that we will build a system with collecting the data in form of the data which is external, like what is the weather right now when you made an order, what was the day of the month, what was the season, autumn, winter, spring, what was the time, was it raining that time, or what was the day of the week, and what's your own demography, and all that data that can be external, and your historical behavioral data, which you are that kind of food that you have been ordering,
Right.
and you marry them, and then you make a predictive system, which is like you're sitting on your laptop, it starts to rain, and the system says that your samosas are just 5 minutes away, should I place it for you? That's this system is what I wanted. I had a vision for Gorp to build. Unfortunately, that didn't pick up in terms of going to that level. We were far from there, but and it had its own reason. However, it was good learning for me. But that's something which I still think is possible, and sometime it will come by some of the innovative companies will bring it up, and especially the companies into food tech domain.
Nice. That idea sounds very interesting, by the way. I hope it gets implemented someday.
Yeah.
All right. Can we also try and insert the most typical happenings of 2020 into this dynamics? I mean, with what COVID-19 has brought, food also happens to be one of the industry that's been impacted very adversely. But if I were to look at the positive side, did you see that it's speeding up the digital transformation process in the industry as a result? And if yes, what has been again, a typical word, new normal of the industry?
Yeah, it's actually impacted to every businesses. This COVID-19, largely to the hospitality, restaurant, food, travel. The only one which gained from this has been the OTT gaming and the online communication businesses like Zoom we are talking on. Uh, but coming up to specifically to my industry, so if you talk about Domino's, so the in Indonesia market I would talk about currently because I'm in Indonesia. So
Yeah.
our delivery business has improved compared to what it used to be. So there was an increase in it because there was a lockdown, people were not allowed to go out. So there was an slight increase in the delivery business, and which was because of one thing we were lucky of, and I call ourselves as a superheroes, as
Right.
Spider-Mans,
Yeah.
because we are friendly neighborhood stores. So the malls were closed, the neighborhood stores were not, and Domino's, most of the stores were neighborhoods. So as a Spider-Man, we were still delivering the food. So that's why the delivery business got a surge. But having said that, there was an impact on the dining business and the carry-out business. And the impact which was there on both those kind of business on the surge in the delivery business was not able to make up for what we were losing in those channels.
Yeah.
Having said that, the other is the delivery impact was also because of the support of our Avenger friends, Grab and Gojek, so in the market. So, but yeah, so when it comes to the delivery transformation process in the market, that has improved. So the adoption of the digital transformation, I saw there has been rapid increase from the time when the lockdown was called out. So for example, I will give you example in retail front. There were many of these stores who were never digital savvy. Immediately they switched on to taking orders from WhatsApp. by implementing a chat agent on it, and every store you can make one person sit who's taking the orders and managing the whole offline process manually of delivery. But yeah, they immediately, that transformation started. There were a lot of digital companies who came up with the solutions, started pitching about how they can help you target the right customers. They will use your data to help you target and do the marketing automations. So that has triggered, and it has become the buzzword also. People adoption towards them increase, because when you are bound to not be able to do anything, you would always look for a go with your survival instinct to try something.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether you know or not, but I have recently written a complete article on new normal in retail on my site, which is myingsing.com.
Hmm.
And I hope it could be a good detailed read for many who are interested. Having said that, if if someone is looking for an answer that how and what this digital transformation can lead to, what is the right digital transformation that needs to be adopted, so there is no actual answer to it, because it would be more based on your business needs and the kind of uh, experiments, trials, learnings that you would get from it. And this is that you need to decide what to scale and what not to scale. Will decide that what new normal would be, or what is the digital right transformation that you need to take. So 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 the adoption has become very easy, because it's very easy to now convince to management that let's go for it. And because they are also seeing it as a light at the end of the tunnel, they would want to adopt for it. But the one point of caution is that you have to not fully go for it. You need to see from a perspective of doing certain experiment POC trials and take the learning from it. And if it is working for you, then scale it.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, I get that how it's organization to organization and industry to industry. I mean, this concept of new normal, but uncertainty has been. I mean, it's being a driving factor for most of the businesses to an extent, and there are things that say you as brand marketing can play a role in these particular times. There are things that sales can do. There are things that maybe your technology department can do. But if I were to specifically talk about brand marketing, like what is this team's focus on during these days? Is it about talking more about, say, contactless delivery as an example, or is it more towards still trying to create a brand and have that trust within the consumers?
You rightly said. So the brand marketing is one, is that it is always important,
Hmm.
for just one simple reason, which you have rightly coined, is trust.
Yeah.
So during these uncertain times, the trust in the brand is what you can leverage. Like we started with the contactless delivery or the contactless carry out,
Yeah.
and talking about the hygiene standard of ingredients that we use is just to reassure the trust in the brand. So
Hmm.
people are gonna trust your brand, and more they want to experience because they trust in you.
Yeah.
And if you can keep focus, and that has been done by a lot of the companies, not just in my case. It's been done by, I think, almost all the QSRs, talking about what kind of hygiene practices they are doing. Even for, say, Zomato has been all, I saw they added the flag into their app, and then to against every restaurant,
Yeah.
and reaching out to the restaurant that should be highlighted, and will do audit to give you those flags, which is with the QSR specifically. Even for, I'll give you an example, for a mall business in Indonesia, there is a mall called Senayan City Mall, and they opened they were about to, when the malls were about to open as a new normal was likely to be slightly deteriorated with respect to the strict norms. So they started releasing the videos showcasing that how their mall is safe, from a person being monitored by temperature check to how the lifts doesn't require to press the button. It's more from just the gesture which you will take your hands near to it, and it will understand that you need to go up or need to go down.
Nice.
From a parking ticket, you don't need to press the button. You wave your hand, it will give you parking ticket. uh, and while paying, you just need to use your card, which is more cashless kind of payment. Going within the lift, the buttons from these the left hand side has gone onto the floor with pedals to press which floor you want to go. All that they demonstrated to ensure and the bring as a trust in the brand, which is the Sanan City Mall that they wanted to showcase, and they released as a video. So as a brand marketer, you need to see from the perspective of how can you gain the trust in those uncertain times, which is where the people will be willing to experience you because they have believed in the trust which you have demonstrated.
Right. Very, very true, actually. In fact, that's something that we as a brand marketing team are also trying to focus most of our energies on. But
Yeah.
what also this process did was speeded the fourth industrial revolution, as people call it, like with especially chatbots and marketing automation coming into the ecosystem. And in fact, we've, as an organization, seen that speed up during the last 3 months. And would you also want to add something to it, like how chatbots and automation tools have just benefited the ecosystems as a whole?
So first is Shaurya, I would love the term which you said, fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
Or I would say you are saying it's the bot era.
I mean, I'm a marketer at the end of the day. I'm supposed to use these words.
Yeah. So I personally believe they are the future. But there is still a lot of need them to be evolved, specifically when it comes to adoption. Like example, in case of a chatbot, if the most of the implementation which I saw from the market is that they are trying to just copy and marry the online ordering towards the chatbot,
Right.
which is what the chatbots are not meant for. The chatbots are meant for the conversations. If you're going to just copy the behavior and the same customer experience that you get on online ordering on a chatbot, then why are you building a chatbot? Was the online ordering not enough, right? So that has been the cases which I saw. I believe that every such platform has their own merits. Like a chatbot does not need an explore menu option for a use in a food tech. It requires you to give you the suggestion to make a purchase, like how you interact with a CSR when you go to a counter.
And hold you instead of guessing what you want.
Yeah, so he would come up with the recommendations, or the right KPI for a chatbot should be how many queries is he able to convert into an order. That's the KPI that should be seen, because it's more about the conversations. So that's the area I think the chatbots have future. It will move towards that direction. In fact, I'm also trying to work on that area wherein I don't really replicate my online ordering behavior to a chatbot, that you are able to do the same thing, explore menu, select product and place an order. Rather than I would want to make it more exploratory, wherein people should come up and the question and the interaction should be in a way which is asking you like for how many how many people are you ordering for, what are you looking for, is it the non-veg pizzas and all. And then I came up with the combo suggestions that why don't you use it, it's a value deal for you, which is enough for 4 people that you are looking for. So those kind of conversations, creating and converting into an order is where I see the chatbot. The other is a lot of people come with a query and the handling, which is replacing the current system of talking. How many FAQs you can build is okay, but how many interactive FAQs you can build is what would define you as the true bot behavior. I remember example from Michigan Tires, Mr. Michigan, on their website, in which when you ask him the idiotic questions like are you married, so the response used to be no, I'm single but still looking. so that's more intelligent kind of bot, I would say. And once you have those kind of conversations, so the whole part of that emotional attachment which you normally get to see from when you order, when we say that he's the right salesman because he was emotional and had the empathy while dealing with me. That same behavior is when is given to a bot and it can respond that way. I think that's the evolution of the bot that is going to be there, and that's what I look for.
Got what you're saying. We'll also make sure that our sales teams are aware of this. Jokes apart, I mean, before I close, I actually want to do a sort of a last question with you, and you got to answer this without thinking much. It's a request. So the question is, what is your favorite and the least favorite thing about being in this ecosystem?
Ecosystem as in?
The food tech, food retail, like whatever you want to call it.
Okay. So my favorite thing is, one is that I'm a foodie.
Mhm.
The second thing is I love technology.
Okay.
I have addiction to it. That's the favorite part. Least favorite, it's hard to say, but one of the thing is that I've gained a lot of weight whenever I've been part of a food tech. So that has been there, but I have become lot health conscious. I have reduced my around 11 kgs of weight. I
Wow.
do more exercise these days. Yeah,
Mhm.
but if jokes apart, if I have to say a least favorite, I would say that I want to do more of a tech innovations into the food tech, but most of the food industry is largely ROI driven, and that takes off the whole part of opportunity of risk taking abilities. That's
Oh.
always on the question. That's the least favorite part. Otherwise, the food and technology, they both serve makes me attached to this industry so far.
All right. On the note of thanking you for making me remind of food early in the evening, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for being on this podcast and answering all the questions that I had and taking us through your journey, telling us more about the industry as a whole. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shaurya. I actually love this interaction. It reminded me of my past, and I hope the listeners would have also had a interesting, good takeaways from our discussion, and it might be of some use to someone.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us this time on The Digital Couch. Make sure to visit our website, vfirst.com, where you can subscribe to the show on the platform of your choice. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, do write to us at thedigitalcouch@vfirst.com. Be sure to tune in to our next episode. See you.